So I already filmed this video in its entirety. I filmed a good 15-20 minutes plus of footage, and then I noticed as I was looking at the footage that there was a bottle of lube and a vibrator right behind my head. So here we are again for a take 2. Anyways, I am so excited to be filming this video today because if you haven't read the title, and why did you click on this video if you didn't read the title? You should really read titles before you click on videos. But I got into nursing school and I am so freaking excited for it. Yeah. I have a whole list of things I want to talk about, and like I said, I've already filmed this video once, but I'm at a loss for words for how excited I am to have finally gotten into a nursing program and to kind of have an end date in sight, you know, like a graduation date in sight, which is something I'm going to talk a little bit more about later. But the first thing I want to talk about is why I chose the program that I did, which is a private program. So obviously we all know the difference between public and private schools. And I've been in a public community college for about 4 years now. And when I started this community college, I knew that I wanted to go into nursing. And so I started taking the prereq courses for nursing, because nursing isn't like a lot of programs. It is a competitive program, so it's not like a degree in English where you declare your major as English, you take a bunch of classes, and then you get your degree. There you have prerequisites you have to take while you're either undeclared or you're a pre-nursing major, which honestly, pre-nursing is like a new thing to my school. Like they didn't, like the public school that I went to, they didn't used to have a pre-nursing major, so you were just undeclared until you got into the nursing program. So you had all these classes you had to take, and then you had these entrance exams that you had to take, and you had to get all these you had to get letters of recommendations, and then there was a board that would interview you, and they would take all this information that you have given them, and they would make a decision on who would get into the program and who would not get into the program. So I started college and I was intending on getting into the program at this school, and one of the first classes that they make you take is actually a CNA program, is actually a CNA class. So CNA, for those of you who don't know, is a certified nursing assistant, and basically it is someone who can do the basic nursing skills to assist a nurse who, so you can't do things like pass medication or give shots or put in IVs or draw bloods or anything like that. It's just the most basic nursing skills, and it's a really necessary job, and it's a really necessary skill set for anyone in the medical or anyone in the nursing community to have. So that is why this school required you take this class. And so I took that class and I got my certification as a certified nursing assistant, and I started working as a CNA. And the truth is, being a CNA kind of destroyed my love for the nursing field for a long time. And it did that because I worked on a med-surg and rehab floor, and it was a lot of work. CNAs, first of all, God bless, I'm atheist or agnostic or whatever, but bless all of the nurses who are CNAs who do this long term, especially the ones in the long-term facilities. Like, y'all are the real MVPs. Like, this world could not run without the CNAs who do this for a long period of time. But it really personally made me fall out of love with the medical field. And So I kind of started searching for a different career path to go down to. I looked into physical therapy, which honestly, I really loved physical therapy, and I loved working in physical therapy, but I didn't want to have to go through all the schooling it took to become a physical therapist, and so I moved on to things such as marketing and a special education teacher, and I took classes in all sorts of fields. And during this time, I'm still working as a CNA, and it's really wearing on me. And so I decide to start looking for a different job. And I look for jobs outside of the medical field, but to be honest, once you're in the medical field, it's kind of hard to get out of the medical field. So I started looking for jobs in hospitals. And like I said, I worked on a med-surg and rehab floor, and I really loved the hospital that I worked in. It was an amazing hospital. The nurse manager was super nice. The CNO, the CEO, they were all super nice. But there weren't really any jobs there that I wanted. So I started looking at other hospitals, I started looking at outpatient clinics, and eventually I got a job as an emergency trauma technician at our local emergency trauma center in the emergency room. How many times can I say emergency? There's a new drinking game for you guys. Every time I say emergency, take a shot. Y'all will be dead by the end of this video. Anyway, so I got a job as an emergency trauma technician in the emergency room at our local trauma center, which is a level 2 trauma center, so not quite a level 1. And even though it's a level 2, it's not quite the level 2 trauma center you'd find in a busier place, to be honest, because I do live in kind of a small to mid-sized city that is surrounded by a lot of rural communities. So, but I started working in the emergency room, and I fell in love with nursing again, guys. So as an emergency trauma technician, the things that I can do, my scope of practice was slightly expanded, very ever so slightly expanded. But I really started getting to see a lot of different things and experience a lot of different things. And I fell in love with the nursing community again or the nursing profession again, because this is what I imagined nursing to be. This is what I wanted to be doing. And so I decided I wanted to get back into nursing. But at this point, my GPA was screwed. I'd taken so many classes and I dropped out of so many classes, and it's just been 4 years of chaos for myself. And the really sucky thing about community college and about public colleges in general, not just community colleges, public universities and all sorts of things, is they're not very forgiving on students, you know? They expect us to come out of high school however old we are. I was 16 when I came out of high school. A lot of people are 17, 18, even 19-year-olds. They expect us to come out and right away off the bat know what we want to do with the rest of our lives, which is kind of ridiculous. We're still kids. I wasn't even legally an adult yet. But these decisions that you make, they want to affect you for the rest, the decisions you make as a 16, 17, 18-year-old are going to affect you for the rest of your academic career and for the rest of your professional career if you stick to public universities, which is honestly kind of ridiculous. Anyways, so I knew that, one, there would be no way I would get into a program with my current GPA, but also on top of that, even just getting the prereqs and getting myself qualified to apply would take another year or two. And like I said, I've already been in on and off for 4 years. I want an end date. I want a graduation date in sight, a goal, because I need a goal to work towards. So I decided to go ahead and apply for a private program, the local private program. Now, this private program is different because once you get in, you're in. You don't have to take prereqs. Once you're in the program, you will start taking the prereqs in the program, and it's also an accelerated program. So instead of taking me 3 or 4 or however long it would take me to get all the prereqs and all my nursing courses done, it's only going to take me 2 years. So in 2022, I will have my nursing degree, and I will be eligible to take the NCLEX, which again is super, super exciting. Ooh, I love that just as I sit down to film like this next part of the video, my dog, whose butt is like right there with like 2 feet away from me, just decides to fart and stink up the entire room. I'm really feeling the love from her right now. Anyways, so back to talking about the exam. So they give you a nursing entrance exam, which is a biology, an English, like reading, I guess, because there's 2 English sections. There's a reading section and there's a writing section, the biology section and a math section. Now, honestly, I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you guys are going to take an exam like this, study. Like, it's amazing how much knowledge like flies out of your brain once you graduate high school, because you're no longer doing this math every day. You are no longer talking about sentence structure, and so you don't really think about it anymore. So when you go to take a test on it, that knowledge is not at the forefront of your mind anymore. So it's really important to study for these. I did it by buying a book from Barnes & Noble's. Honestly, that book was super helpful for me. I just read through it. I took the practice exams in it. But I bought that book because I kind of had some extra money sitting around for it. It wasn't a financial burden for me to buy this book. But I understand not everyone has that. So if it would be a financial burden on you to buy this book, there are a lot of free resources available. I have a coworker who's going to be in the same semester as me who took the exam using only online materials. So she used free study guides, free study material that she found online, free quizzes, things such as that. And she got the same score as me, which overall I got a 96%. I can't remember what my scores were for the individual sections, but overall I got a 96%. So that was luckily good enough to get in. And so the final thing that I really wanted to talk about was kind of what will the next 2 years of my life look like. So for the next 2 years, I won't really get any breaks. I think the longest break is 2 weeks around Christmas and New Year's, and that will be my longest break. But between that, it's broken up into trimesters, so it's not like 2 semesters, it's 3 trimesters a year, and between each trimester, I think it's about a week break that you get. So again, not a very long break. It's a really intensive, really accelerated program. You'll be taking classes, I think for the first 2 semesters you take classes like 4 days a week, and then as the semesters go on you take classes less and less, and it becomes more and more of clinical experiences. For those of you who don't know what clinicals are when you go into a hospital or you go into a doctor's office or you go into some sort of medical facility and you work with the nurses there to practice your nursing skills. So to practice passing meds and giving injections and starting IVs and practicing skills that you really wouldn't get to practice in a classroom. Like, come on guys, you can only start so many IVs on your classmates before they start to get annoyed with you. I don't want to get poked by a needle 30 times. Clinicals are when you go in, so the later in the semester you get, I think I start clinicals in the 3rd trimester, but the later you get, the more and more clinical experience you get, the less and less classes that you take. The clinicals are 12 hours long, and I think for the 3rd trimester you have like 1 clinical a week, and then it's like 2 clinicals a week, but basically you start taking a lot of clinicals. That's going to be exhausting, especially since I plan on keeping my job in the ER for as long as possible. Like, as long as I can continue to work and go to school, I plan on keeping my job. because one, I need the extra money because I am kind of a shopaholic, for those of you who haven't been able to figure it out yet. And also because I am on my own insurance. When I turned 18, I realized what a financial burden it was on my mother to have me on her insurance. It was costing her like an arm and a leg to have one kid on her insurance. Was absolutely ridiculous. So that's one of the reasons why I started working full-time as soon as I turned 18, to kind of help take that financial burden off of my mother. So I'm on my own insurance, so I need to be able to continue working for as long as possible to keep my insurance. So yeah, I'm gonna be really freaking tired, you guys. And the last thing I wanted to talk about were my plans after nursing school. So the hospital that I work in for now is actually going to be helping me pay for nursing school. I believe they're going to be paying about $4,000 a year for me to continue my nursing education. The only kind of like little add-on to that is the fact that I am going to have to continue working for them for at least a year after I graduate from nursing school, which honestly, guys, it's not a bad deal. That's a job. Like, I have a job straight out of nursing school as a new grad. That's not bad at all. But, where was I going with this? Yeah. So they will be giving me $4,000 a year, and then I have to work for them for a year. Now, where would I like to work as a nurse? So this particular hospital, I don't know what their policies are going to be in 2 years, but right now their policy, because they're changing policies like constantly, like the new policy that they want to try is they are not allowing new nurses into the ICU or into the ER, which kind of sucks because I would really love to go straight into the ER, but at the same time I understand it because they want more experienced nurses in both of those areas. So where particularly would I like to work? I think I'd like to work on a telemetry unit. For those of you who don't know what telemetry is heart health. So this isn't the cardiac ICU, so it's people who have congestive heart failure, pacemaker surgeries, things like that. So it is a cardiac unit, but not an intensive care cardiac unit, if that makes sense. Eventually, I would really like to get some ICU experience in. Like, I feel like when we get nurses in the ER who have been in the ICU, they are super smart. They know what's going on. When we get a critical care patient, we want that nurse in the room setting up drips, helping the doctor, because they know what they are doing. So I think I'd love to have an ICU nurse, be an ICU nurse. Eventually I do want to get back into the ER because I really, really love the ER, and I'm kind of worried about the same thing happening that happened when I was a CNA. I'm going to fall out of love with being the nursing profession when I work up on a floor. Like, that is my biggest fear, that I'm going to fall out of love with it again, and I'm going to be miserable after I spend 2 years in school and all this time. So eventually I do want to get back down to the ER. I kind of want to try working peds, but we'll see. Peds is kind of a terrifying place to work. I think I'd like to work in the OR. The good thing about nursing is there are lots of places to experience. There's lots of things to do. So if you don't like one area of nursing, my hospital has a policy where you can't transfer for a year. You only have to work there for a year, guys. So if you are in telemetry and you realize you really hate telemetry, then just transfer to a different department. So like I said, I'd like to be an OR nurse for a little bit. An OR nurse is an operating room nurse. I think that's just something I want to experience. I'm not even sure I'll really like being an OR nurse. I have been in the trauma bay when the trauma surgeon comes in, and honestly, it's super cool when the trauma surgeon comes in. He does surgery in our trauma bay. Like, it's fascinating to see, but I don't know how much I'd like to be a part of it, but that is something I'd like to figure out. Obviously, like I was talking about clinicals earlier, you get to do lots of different clinicals and you do rotations in all different parts of the hospital, so you really get to experience different units and you really get to see what you like. And then I want to be a travel nurse. So for those of you who don't know what a travel nurse is a nurse who bounces around from different hospitals from state to state, county to county, sometimes the same hospitals within the same cities. And their contracts are typically between 13 weeks to 9 months long, and they get paid more because for the inconvenience of being a travel nurse, they get paid more, but they also get to travel, so it seems like a win-win situation, at least for a little bit. Like, that's something I'd like to experience. So I want to be a travel nurse. And then finally, the last couple things I want to talk about, I am getting my associates in nursing, which qualifies me for the NCLEX, and also in the city I live and work in right now, nurses with a bachelor's degree don't get paid more, but I know that's not the same for every city across the country and every hospital across the country. That's just the standard for the hospitals within my city, that nurses with a bachelor's degree do not get paid more, but I do intend on getting my bachelor's degree because I think potentially, eventually, I might want to be a nurse practitioner, which is either a master's or a doctorate's degree. So you kind of need your bachelor's before you can get into one of those programs. Thanks guys to everyone who watched me sit here and rant for so long. Remember to like this video and subscribe. I mainly do fashion videos, but I think I'm going to be doing some more nursing videos as I get into nursing school and some school related videos, so if you guys want to see those, go ahead and subscribe down below, and also make sure to comment if you are also a small YouTuber so that I can watch your channel and support you as well. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!